Good afternoon and welcome to WIN TV. You know, it's Friday, June 25th, the end of the first official week of summer. And it's been a beautiful week here in the nation's capital. The weather has just been fantastic. And I'm glad that you had some time to just stop and watch us here at WIN TV. I'm your host again, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer newspaper. And thank you so much for watching today. You know, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser officially opened DC on Wednesday. And she, along with the folks at Events DC and Destination DC, invites everyone in the DC region and beyond to visit the city and to enjoy many of its just old and new sites and to experience all that DC has to offer. We certainly do welcome you here at WIN TV as well, but we still want you to stay safe. We don't know all about these COVID variants, and we know that it's still lurking out there somewhere. So if you still feel more comfortable wearing a mask, you can do so. We don't do any shaming here in the nation's capital. We just want you to come and have a good old time and enjoy nothing like a summer in DC. I hope you've had a chance to pick up this week's issue of the Washington Informer. Remember, you can also read it online at WashingtonInformer.com. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. If you're visiting us for the first time using one of our social media platforms, be sure to friend us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. And guess what? The Washington Informer has also joined the TikTok crowd. Our summer fellow, Desiree Williams, was given a goal by, she's a fellow with General Motors, Chevy. It's called Discover the Unexpected. And they gave her the goal of helping us to reach 10,000 TikTok followers, believe it or not, in 7 weeks. Can we do it? Well, with your help, nothing is possible. So check out Wash Informer on TikTok and see Desiree. I am so proud of this young woman, a Howard University student who will be graduating in September and working with us, graduating actually in December. Got that wrong, Chevy. In December. And so we're really excited to have her on board and to meet a whole new community on TikTok. Today we have another full show, and we're always excited to have W.I. Bridge follow us at the end of our program when the Media Prince keeps us informed of even more news, and the Sounds of the DMV features a new local artist on the way to stardom. So when we go away, we want you to keep watching for W.I. Bridge. Joining WIN TV today is former Democratic National Committee Chair Tom Perez, who launched his bid for Maryland governor on Monday. He's entered a field of candidates that seems to be growing by the weeks, and we will meet with him soon on WIN TV. Tom Perez will be speaking to Washington Informer Prince George's County editor William Ford. The Senate heard from Mayor Bowser and other DC statehood supporters on Tuesday. Washington Informer political reporter James Wright will discuss the hearing and what's next for DC statehood, the DC statehood movement, with H.R. Kadeem Cooper, Policy Counsel at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. And those of us who love DC and love the Shaw community, you know, at the intersection of 14th and U Street sits the historic Reeve Center that is inching its way closer for redevelopment. Wabuwa Benatie will be with us to talk about the efforts he and his partners are taking to win the coveted redevelopment contract. And to round out our show, Perry Fleming of the 100 Black Men of Greater Washington, D.C. will share tips on financial health. Charles Harris, also known as Shorty Corleone, and Rico Anderson are also here to share how they have given a boost to go-go music with a channel on satellite radio. And our final guests are members of the Holland family who are engaged in an intense battle over access to their own land in Calvert County. So we have a lot to talk about. So let's jump right in with our news broadcast from Curtis Knowles.
This is WIN TV News, bringing you the news that matters. The Maryland Department of Labor has reported more than 500,000 misleading new unemployment insurance claims since the start of May. So far, the department has flagged and inquired about 1.3 million dubious in-state and out-of-state claims. With fraudulent activity rampant in unemployment programs across the country, Maryland has consistently adapted and added new security measures to prevent, detect, and report fraud, stated Governor Hogan. The Prince George's County Stand Up and Deliver initiative is extending its services until January. The program was established during the coronavirus pandemic to help deliver healthy food to those in need. The Capital Area Food Bank's Hunger Report 2020 stated that PG County ranked number 1 in terms of residents who were food insecure. Partnerships with businesses such as Topolino Restaurant, MK Catering, and Delta Produce of Lanham have provided resources for the program, donating over 600 meals. Republican-backed voter suppression bills have been sweeping the nation. Marginalized communities can now be facing more difficulty when going to the polls. Voter suppression bills have been passed in Florida, Georgia, and Texas. The For the People Act, a bill aimed at curbing voter suppression, was stalled in the Senate after being passed in the House. Democrats have been arguing with those opposing the bill, including former President Barack Obama, who had this to say. Whatever else we may argue, the one thing we should agree on is the bedrock idea that we as Americans have been taught to take pride in the fact that we are a democracy. With the pandemic finally coming to an end, the world is eager to return to a sense of normalcy. Part of that is people returning to work. However, the forced isolation of the pandemic has caused an increase in anxiety about the return to work. A study published by Bloomberg shows that only 28% of people have returned to work. COVID has inevitably drowned us in an introvert zone, which hits us like a bullet as soon as we get back to work, said marketing strategist Nelson Joseph. Employers have also been placed in a predicament as companies are deciding whether or not to keep remote options viable. This is Curtis Knowles with WIN TV News.
Thank you, Curtis. Thank you so much. And wow, I'm really excited right now to have, of course, our Prince George's County editor, William Ford, joining us with Tom Perez. It's so good to see you. I've seen you so many different places, and I'm quite honored that you've taken time to spend with us for a few minutes here on WIN TV. Welcome to the show. And there you go. Wonderful.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, no, this is going to be great. We're kicking off election season in Maryland with you, and I know William has done a few stories. So William, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you can take it away.
Thank you very much, Denise. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. It's great to be with you and all of your viewership.
Thank you. Just in case there's a few that don't know about you, sir, give a little bit of background of yourself.
Sure. Well, I've been a civil rights lawyer and a labor activist all of my life. My parents taught me that you always got to give back. And so I've spent my entire life doing civil rights work at a federal level, a state level, local level, had the privilege of leading the civil rights division. I spent almost a dozen years prosecuting police misconduct, racial violence cases, prosecuted our LAPD officer pre-Rodney King, to give you a sense of how long I was in that line of work. And I had the privilege of being Maryland's labor secretary, as well as on the Montgomery County Council here in Maryland. So I've served in local government, state government, federal government, and working for Barack Obama was the privilege of a lifetime. And what it's all about is making sure that we live up to America's promise. Civil rights continues to be the unfinished business of America. And the labor work is really about what the March on Washington was about, jobs and justice. And so my life's work has been about jobs, justice, and opportunity. And that's why I'm running for governor, because I want to make sure that everyone in Maryland has an opportunity to realize their full potential.
Well, sir, and I read last month's announcement of you becoming a partner in the law firm Venable in Northwest DC. No, not many people can be partners, so there's experience that you have, obviously, in the field of law. Why in the world would you want to run with all these candidates when you can just continue practicing your private practice in law?
Oh, because public service is in my DNA. Again, the definition of a good day, William, when I was labor secretary, we helped 2 million home health workers, mostly women of color, on food stamps by enacting a new rule that ensured that they had access to minimum wage and overtime protections. 2 million people we could help at scale. The definition of a good day was when we brought to justice predatory lenders in Maryland. Wells Fargo had been engaged in redlining and had been targeting Black and brown people, steering them to subprime loans that were going to transform the American dream, frankly, into the American nightmare. Helping people at scale, making sure that we're enforcing those civil rights laws that are truly reflective of the promise of America. And so I'm proud to be, I'm proud of the work that I have done. I'm working part-time at Venable right now, and I hope to be your governor. And I hope that that part-time job will come to an end November of next year when I get elected.
Now, yeah, and you mentioned about serving with President Obama as labor secretary, and he had some of the most kindest words for you that people can look online and see. Now, how would you translate your work on the federal level to the state level?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's all about making sure that everyone has access to the skills they need to punch their ticket to the middle class. There's so many job opportunities, understanding what the jobs of the future are and making sure Marylanders have those skills. Let me give you one real clear example. Computer coding. So many jobs in coding. You don't need a college degree to be an effective coder. And when we were at the Labor Department, we worked with, for instance, then Mayor Nutter of the city of Philadelphia to put in place a program. We targeted 18 to 20-year-olds, kids of color in the city of Philadelphia, take their fluency in, like my son, he knows this gadget really well. Take that fluency in their social media, translate into a career in coding. So I want to make sure that everybody has access to those sorts of opportunities. Again, my civil rights experience, we're having a racial reckoning across this country and in Maryland. And in this last legislative session, William, as you know, because you've spoken about it a lot, there were some dramatic reforms undertaken. I learned from the police work that I have done that the most important tool that a police officer has in his or her arsenal is the trust of the people. Maryland was the first state to enact the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights, and it was now the first state to repeal it. Now, there's more work to do, but I applaud the advocates. I applaud the members of the General Assembly who came together. And again, as your governor, I would work together with communities to make sure we have effective policing. Larry Hogan buys into this notion that you're either on the side of the police or you're on the side of the community. That's a false choice. That is a choice we never have to make. And so again, I want to take my experience, and I think it's really important to have a governor who can hit the ground running on day one. And that's exactly what I will do, working on criminal justice reform issues, working on economic issues, making sure we finish the purple line, build the red line up in Baltimore, and give people the opportunity to realize their full potential.
I want to make sure I get this question in. You received a major endorsement when we were out in Silver Spring Wednesday. It's from Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. Summarize what that support means to get from someone like him.
Well, Ike Leggett is a mentor of mine. Ike Leggett is just a remarkable person, a Vietnam veteran, a White House fellow. When he ran for the county council in Montgomery County in the late 80s, he could not put his picture on his campaign literature because Montgomery County wasn't ready. And he won that race. And then when I ran in 2002, Ike Leggett was at my side. He endorsed me day one then. He endorsed me day one of my gubernatorial race. And Ike Leggett embodies the best of Maryland, the best of America, the best of Montgomery County. His ability to bring people together, his experience, and his values. And that's what it's about. I think when you vote for county executive or a delegate or governor, you want a window into their moral compass. And my entire life has been about building bridges of opportunity for everyone. And that's been Ike's life. And I'm so humbled by his support. There are multiple candidates running from Montgomery County. And the fact that he has endorsed me day one is very humbling and very exciting. And my good friend Corey McRae, a senator in Baltimore, who is a real superstar in the state Senate. We spent the afternoon with him, and I'm also very, very humbled, William, to have Senator McRae's endorsement.
Yeah, I did get to see that on the same day that County Executive Elect gave you endorsement. Now, I read you plan on spreading your message in other parts of Maryland. You got any specific dates and times where you'll be in upcoming days or weeks? So
yeah, no, we've already been around everywhere. We have we're going to Western Maryland here in the coming days. Prince George's County. I've spent a lot of time. Monday of this week, the day or two before my launch, I was on Route 1 at Franklin's, having a meet and greet with about a dozen municipal elected officials, listening and learning, because one thing I will do as governor is understand that mayors and county executives need to have a seat at the table. And so you'll see us around the state everywhere. We're going to be visiting churches. One of my supporters is Reuben Collins, the commissioner and president down in Charles County, and we'll be with Reuben as well.
Just one more final question, sir. Being that you're going to be campaigning, you're going to be out there, how does Tom Perez get to relax?
Well, I have 3 children, and any time I'm spending with my children is for me the most precious time. I coached basketball, William, for the last 15 years. I coached one of my kids. My youngest is now 19, so last year was his last year. And I still have our basketball net in front of our house, and he and I every day still try to get in a game of Around the World or a little one-on-one. I got to admit, he beats me a lot more than I beat him, and once in a while he lets me beat him. But being with family is how I relax, because it's all about family, and I want to make sure every family in Maryland has the opportunity to succeed.
One other question, sir. I apologize. I wanted to make sure you get to respond to this, sir. In terms of Marylanders, they elected Republican governor, I believe, the last 3 of 5 gubernatorial races. Why is it vital for a Democrat to get in this year? For the next year, excuse me.
Well, and it's a really important question. And some people disagree with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it because I believe it. When it comes to governor's races, Maryland is a purple state. When you lose 3 out of the last 5 elections, you can't sit here and think to yourself, well, that was a one-off. That was a one-off. That was a one-off. No, we are a purple state. And the reason it is so important to elect Democrats is because that's the best way to realize our full potential. Look at the blueprint for educational reform that was passed. It was passed over the governor's veto. Look at criminal justice reform. It was passed over the governor's veto. Look at the potential we have to become a clean energy capital and hub of the country. Offshore wind. This governor has done nothing on that. And Martin O'Malley 10 years ago was a leader on that. We can create good jobs. We need a dance partner in Annapolis for the hard work that's being done by Democrats. And when we do that, we can grow business. We can grow opportunity. We can grow labor movements. We can grow our potential to realize our full potential. And that's why it's so important. And I think I'm confident we can come out of this primary excited, energized. And I have a proven track record of working across the aisle, making sure, I settled the Verizon strike in 2016, bringing business and labor together. That's what a governor needs to do, and that's what I will do, and that's how we can win. And by organizing everywhere, William, we are in every county. It's a 24-county strategy for me.
Thank you, Mr. Tom Perez, former DNC chair. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Honored to be with you.
Interview, Will. Thanks for getting that last question in there too, because that's one of the things I was as a non-Marylander. I think it's interesting to watch how Maryland politics has evolved over the years, and so I know that we're going to get some calls. So I understand that this is the first of probably more gubernatorial candidates that you'll be bringing on to Win TV.
That's the plan.
All right. Okay, doke. Thanks much. So now we're going to move on actually to talk to Kadeem Cooper. And we have James Wright, who's going to join us. James is our political reporter who's been covering every day, all day, every week, statehood. And if you go to our website at WashingtonInformer.com, we have a statehood tab there. And a lot of those stories have been written by James Wright. And I'm so glad to have you on board, James, and to continue the conversation about statehood with Kadeem Cooper. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Denise. And thank you for your tremendous support in terms of these DC statehood stories. Hello, Mr. Cooper. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Please tell us a little bit about your organization.
Sure. I work for an organization called the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. I'll tell you a little bit about the history of the organization. It was founded in 1963 after President John F. Kennedy reached out to members of the private bar and basically asked them to form a committee of lawyers to support the civil rights movement. And so ever since 1963, our organization has been reaching out to lawyers and trying to organize lawyers on behalf of civil rights and community movements. So we try to support the community in efforts to advance civil rights.
Has your organization taken a position on DC statehood?
Yes, we have. We endorse DC statehood. We think that it's really a no-brainer. I mean, we're supposed to be a democracy, and we have 700,000 of our American citizens basically disenfranchised and unable to vote for a member of Congress or a U.S. senator. And we just think that's a fundamental contradiction that really can't be allowed to continue. It's something that really needs to change.
I want to throw something at you. During the hearings this week in the Senate, the Republicans, I don't know why it's interesting how people can use partisan figures for their own purpose, quoted Robert F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy, when he was Attorney General under President Kennedy, his brother, he's basically said in an opinion, and I stress this, an opinion, that it was his opinion that the District of Columbia could not become a state through the normal process, but only could become a state as a constitutional amendment. How does your organization feel about that?
So that's an argument that's often made by opponents of DC statehood. And I think the bill that is under consideration, it handles the constitutional issues. So really the constitutional issue that's often raised is that in the US Constitution, there is a line that says that there needs to be a district, a federal district, as a part of our geography. And so what that means is that even if DC becomes a state, there's going to need to be a piece of DC that remains a district to house the US government. So for example, the White House, the monuments, the National Mall, all of that is federal land, and it can't be a part of DC as a state. And so what the bill does is it allows for that region of DC to be a separate piece of land from the rest of the DC area. And so that's the way the bill deals with it. And we think that solves any constitutional problem.
Well, Mr. Cooper, there are also some senators, such as Susan Collins of Maine, and Rob Portman, who was the ranking member of that committee on Tuesday, and Mitt Romney, who say, well, we can solve this easily. Why don't you just retrocede the district back into Maryland? Why is that a problem?
I think that's a problem because it basically denies the residents of DC their due, which is having 2 senators and having a congressperson, just like the state of Wyoming, which has less than 700,000 residents, just like the state of Vermont, which has less than 700,000 residents. So by merging us with Maryland, we're basically suppressing the voices of DC and making it so that the residents of DC are not able to have true sovereignty over themselves and true representation. So I don't think that retrocession really addresses the fundamental issues that are at stake when we're talking about DC statehood.
One of the undercurrents that I often hear about when I talk to activists, whether they're African American or white, is that this is somewhat of a civil rights issue / dealing with African American representation, empowerment. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Well, there's always been a racial undercurrent to these discussions because DC is a state with a very, very large Black population, obviously much larger than the Black population of Wyoming or Vermont. And there's often been a message that Republicans give, which is that DC isn't fit to be a state, that it doesn't have the right type of people. And what that message really says in a subtle way is that African Americans who live in the District of Columbia don't have the same rights as people in other states. And that's something that we've been fighting against as an organization since 1963 and as a people since the 1700s and when we first came to this nation. So we've been fighting for freedom and for a voice in this American political system since the political system was formed, and we're going to continue to fight on until DC and the residents of DC get the voice that they deserve.
Mr. Cooper, let's say that Senator Tim Scott, the Republican from South Carolina, is sitting in front of you. What would you say to Tim Scott on why he should support DC statehood?
I would tell Senator Scott that this isn't a political issue, this is a moral issue. And that if you believe in American democracy, which I'm sure he does as someone who's run for office and serves in our US Senate, if you believe in democracy, then you can't deny the rights of a democratic people to the residents of DC. It's just not morally tenable. You have to give these people their due. And you cannot worry about the political consequences. You can't not grant DC statehood because you fear that they're going to be Democratic senators. Those types of considerations just don't meet the moment. The moment is a moral moment, and what that means is that morally we have to do the right thing here, and we have to give the people of DC their rights.
One of the things that fascinates me about this DC statehood movement is how it really has caught legs within the last 5 years. It's actually been around, and you know this, for about several decades, but it really has caught legs within the last 5 years. So my question is to you, in terms of your organization, why is your organization so strongly supporting this cause?
Well, I think we're in a moment right now where democracy is kind of under attack. We're seeing states all around the country passing these suppressive voter laws, these laws that are designed to suppress the votes of people of color in particular. And this is a moment where we really need to organize, and we need to push for reform of our democracy, push for a democracy that's going to work for everyone. And if you're going to push for a democracy that works for everyone, there is a glaring need for DC statehood. We can't fight for voting rights in Georgia and fight for voting rights in Texas without fighting for the voting rights of the people who are most disenfranchised in our community, the people of DC. So I think for us, it's just a critical issue. It's in our DNA to fight for voting rights. And as we continue to fight for voting rights nationwide, we especially want to fight for the voting rights of the people of DC.
You're a lawyer.
Yes, I am.
And the thing about it is, and a lot of people around the country don't know this, but the District of Columbia does not have a choice in terms of who sits on its DC Superior Court as well as its Court of Appeals. Could you talk about how statehood could remedy that?
Absolutely. DC is in a very strange position where we have to basically beg the federal government, the Congress, to allow us to have the judges we want, to allow us to have the U.S. attorney that we want, to allow us to pass certain laws. There are certain laws that can't be passed unless the Congress approves. And so by giving DC statehood, what you're doing is you're giving the residents of DC the power to make decisions that affect their own lives. You're giving them the ability to decide who their judges are, who their governor is, who their lead prosecutor is. And that's critical. I mean, DC is the only part of the country where the prosecution of major crimes is done by a federal prosecutor. Why should we have a federal prosecutor prosecuting things like murder or sexual assault when those are issues that are local issues that should be handled by local prosecutors who have a connection to the community and are representing the community in court? So again, it's just a basic need to have self-representation that's really at stake here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cooper. And this has been a very engaging discussion, and I look forward to speaking with you in the near future.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for that interview. It was great questions. I think Kadeem really knocked it out of the park as far as trying to help us and those who don't understand, even those who are Washingtonians or those who live outside of the district, to understand what our struggle is all about. And so it's good to have some smart folks like that to help to explain those things that we can't. So thanks so much for that interview.
Thank you.
All righty. So remember, don't forget. I guess that's saying the same thing. Stay tuned for WI Bridge and the media prints right after this program. They'll be coming up next, but after we end at 1 o'clock. But up now, I'm really excited to bring on Bua Benitier, who is with the Legacy Community Partners, who's embarking on or competing for this, I think, enormous project with the Reeves Center. You know, this is Marion Barry's baby when it comes to the redevelopment of the Shaw community, 14th Street, U Street, post the riots, named after Frank Reeves. And so now there's you can tell us, Bua, we can talk about that, what is in store for this building and what it is that Legacy Partners wants to do if you get the contract.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me and giving us a voice on your platform. You know, Black press is extremely important, and good to see that you're out here doing for us.
Trying to do it.
That's precisely what we're trying to do. As you said, you actually started off with, you know, Marion Barry's vision, right? And his vision is to do for us and by us, and that's essentially what me and the top flight Black and brown developers in the District of Columbia have decided to do, which is to join forces and do for us by us. And the mayor put out the bid to redevelop the site, and we said, look, we have the talent here, 100% local team. So let's put our resources together and basically do it for us. So that's essentially what we're trying to do. And we're proposing multifamily housing that's going to be 100% affordable housing. We're proposing an office building for the headquarters of the NAACP, a hotel, a food hall, as well as doing all of this in partnership with DC Central Kitchen and a couple of other local nonprofits as well.
That's fantastic. You know, we heard early on that the NAACP was planning to move its headquarters from Baltimore to DC, and so it looks like it's good to know that those plans are still in the works. But tell us, Bua, what other projects have you all worked on, or have you worked on in the District of Columbia that would give folks confidence that, okay, these folks, besides the fact that we just want to support them, but can actually do something with this big piece of land?
Absolutely. You know, I tell everybody, just because I have a baby face does not mean I'm not. My company, Dante's Partners, has a 15-year history of developing in the District of Columbia, predominantly affordable housing. That's been our focus as a for-profit, mission-driven firm. Very recently, we're actually wrapping up our 4th building, which is in honor of Todd Lee, who was the former executive director and CEO of the HFA, who passed on suddenly. So we just recently named our 4th building after him. And those 4 buildings that we just completed represent over $200 million worth of transactions that my company basically spearheaded here in the District of Columbia. So real estate development is nothing to us. We're very experienced at it. And anybody who wants to come and take a look, you can come down to the 42 at Delta Towers, right? So we just did a partnership with them where we just delivered for them brand new 179 units for our seniors. We just opened up the very first affordable assisted senior housing, which has never been done before, for all of the, for our seniors who we stood on their backs and stood on their shoulders to raise us here in the District of Columbia. Now we have a beautiful facility that would rival any hotel in the District of Columbia. So
that project, that Delta Towers, that's over there on H Street, right? H and Bladensburg?
Correct. Yeah. So
right. Okay.
Time you want to come over, come see us. We're right here.
So who are some of your partners?
Oh, the best and the brightest in the District of Columbia. Very honored and very thrilled that they all picked up their phones and answered the call. Bo Menkidi of the Menkidi Group is obviously my ride or die day one partner. Hinnock, who started U Street Parking right on U Street, right? He was valeting cars. Now has a global parking company, is also one of my partners. Ty Simpson, who does facility management, is one of our partners on the team. And so, Tessa Edison, right? Angel Brunner. So it's not just brothers, it's brothers and sisters coming together to make it work.
So once if you're successful with this contract, and when do you expect to know?
Well, listen, we dance to the drum of the executive branch, right? So that's why I think we make really good partners, right? We'll do, we follow instructions very well, and we'll basically proceed. We hope that it's going to be sometime in the fall. Whenever that is, we're ready to start and hit the ground running.
What does redevelopment look like, though, for the Reeve Center? I mean, I think Sherry put a photo up a few minutes ago of the building. It's always been a very beautiful building, not necessarily used to its fullest capacity. You talked about some of the tenants that we'll have in that building. Sherry, can we put that back on the screen again? But some of the tenants you'll have. But will we be tearing this building down? What's the plan, or is that something you can share with us?
Absolutely. So it would require demolishing the existing building that's there right now to basically, and for us, it's a parking garage that would be underneath. It's 250 apartment building. It's 100,000 square feet office building. It's going to be a 150 key hotel, as well as a 40-unit condominium that's all going to be relocated on the site.
Wonderful. And how do you plan to bring in, if you're successful, to bring in other minority contractors, Black workers, or, because people, these projects happen all over the city, and a lot of times we're beginning to see more of us, but not enough. What kind of jobs do you think it'll create?
That is the main reason why we came together. Because the truth of the matter is, with real estate development, it's a top-down approach. I've been very fortunate to have been involved in partnership deals where I am a minority partner, and partnerships where I am actually the one in charge. And I can tell you that there's no way that I can effectuate change if I'm a small piece of a big pie. The only person who is enriched in that scenario is yours truly, me, right? But as someone who is in charge of a development, we're the ones who actually get to dictate who gets to have opportunities on transactions such as ours. And that's something that we're doing already today, right? This is the legacy that we're talking about, right? My company alone, across those transactions that I just told you that we just completed, $52 million went back into our community. That's what we are doing today. And we just want the opportunity to be able to continue to do that, such that other firms that are out there and growing can be the next developers to develop something as big as the Wharf, something as big as any other major redevelopment that you come across today.
Well, I tell you, you're selling a good idea. I wish you the best of luck. We're going to continue to watch, and if you are successful, we certainly want to bring you back on so that we can talk about what the future holds, particularly in the area of jobs for district residents. So, Bua,
Well,
thank you very much.
thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, all right, have a good one. So yeah, that Reeves building, we've been looking at it. We've been trying to figure out what's going to happen to it. So now we know at least one set of partners or two that are competing for the contract. And so we'll see how that takes off, and probably within the next few months. Joining me now is Perry Fleming with 100 Black Men of Greater Washington, D.C. Perry, welcome to WIN TV. And if you can unmute yourself, then we would love to know what to be doing with our money. Wonderful. Welcome to WIN TV.
Thank you for the invitation.
Surely. So, we've had some great conversations about statehood and, prospective candidates for governor. And now we're talking about, construction and jobs and redevelopment. But, it all starts individually, with folks, one, who have not only the interest or the passion to do things, but have been able to figure out, how to manage their own resources to get to to get to first base. So tell me, how is it that you are involved in, financial planning?
Yeah, so thank you again for the invitation. Perry Fleming, Economic Empowerment Chair of the 100 Black Men. And I actually got my start in the financial services through the 100 Black Men. We're a mentoring organization. When I was a student at Morehouse College 25 years ago, I was a student that needed economic empowerment. So to go from that person that was in need to be somebody that can extend that to others is a blessing that it wouldn't have been made possible without the grace of God, as well as through the mentorship of men and women that look like you and I. And so, while this is something that does require some level of accountability, it's also one that we need to extend our arms, and actually we strive together. And it's one of those walks of life that we can actually accomplish more together than we can do individually.
So when you talk to people, what is the first message you try to share with them about, financial empowerment? What is it that you want people to, if they don't hear you say anything else, what is it that you want them to know? That one thing.
Yep. So it's about accountability. So what I tell people is, let's not compare ourselves against our peers, our other people. Let's draw the line in the sand and compare ourselves against our previous selves. And as long as we're striving and outperforming that previous person, that we're headed in the right direction. We also have a legacy of racism in America. So while it's dying slowly, we still have a legacy of that within economic empowerment. And that resides within unconscious biases, as well as systematic racism that falls, especially within underserved communities and people of color.
So, do we start with, the credit score? Do we start with the bank account? Do we start with, the best way to handle our bills? What are those other things that you share with folks?
Absolutely. So credit is certainly an important part of that. I previously worked at Credit Bureau Experian. And so your credit score ranges from, a low credit score of 300 to 579, and roughly, let's say 20% of America is there. And, 20% of America have an excellent credit score, which is roughly 800 to 850 credit score. But back to my point of, drawing the line in the sand and trying to improve, it really comes with education and understanding what makes up that specific credit score. So it's no getting around making your payments on time. That's 35% of that, the formula, if you will, for a credit score. The one part that people don't realize is the percentage of credit that you're actually utilizing makes up a significant part of the credit score as well. And so, for example, if you have a credit limit of $100, you don't want to go over $30 or 30% of that credit limit, because after that, it starts making a negative impact of your credit. And that makes up a significant part of it. And that's the second thing that's most important behind making your payment on time.
That's amazing because first of all, you shared two things with me. One, I didn't know credit scores went above 800. So that tells you a little bit about what I know. And also that 30%, credit limit that you put on yourself. I think that's really informative news. But, people have been struggling, over the past year, even those who had the best credit scores. You talked about racism, but in the past year, we've dealt with the pandemic. And although, the government, federal government has tried to be helpful in providing, more resources for folks, they still may find themselves either, I don't know, are we better off? Because I keep hearing stories that, folks aren't as bad off as we may think they may be. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, so COVID-19 is both a health and an economic pandemic. So it's negatively impacted both the health as well as the economic balance sheet of the African American disproportionately. And so one of the things we've been focused on within the 100 Black Men is making sure that, we help those that don't get the benefit of modifications. That's when you can reach out to your bank and secure an adjustment on your mortgage payment so you can stay in your home. There's a lot of people that didn't have that benefit during COVID-19. So we're blessed enough to receive grants from partners, and we're able to help several families that were not able, that had risk of being put out of their homes, stay in their homes during this COVID-19 period of time. We also have had programs such as Secure the Bag that helps people look at their skill set, develop an elevator speech, update their LinkedIn profile, get practice with interviews and updating their resume so they can maximize their earning potential. And we also have a program called Level Up that'll help people determine whether or not they wanted to go back to grad school or develop a certificate that can maximize their earning potential. So we're doing it at multiple levels. We mentor each other within the 100 Black Men. We have mentorship of men and women at Howard University, and we leverage those students at Howard University to mentor the middle school and high school students in some of the most impoverished communities within the District of Columbia and Northern Virginia as well.
That's fantastic. So for those who are listening and may want to know, how they could tap into some of these resources, what would they need to do?
We have website, the 100 Black Men of Greater Washington, DC.org. We also have social media accounts on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, where you can find us at 100 Black Men of Greater Washington, DC.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. But, there's lots of more questions I could ask, but, time is of the essence here. And we may want to get back because we love to hear success stories, people who found themselves really deep down in a hole, financial hole, but were able to climb themselves out because of, learning some of the skills that you've shared. So we might want to get back if you have, or a young person that you've talked to and see if we can have that conversation in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation.
All right. Thank you so much. So, this is still Black Music Month, the month of June, and we only have a couple of days left. And this is a great time. We've tried to do every week to bring folks on to talk about music in the DMV. And so we're really excited to have Shorty Corleone and Rico Anderson to talk about what they've been doing, not only to promote Black Music Month, but to promote Go-Go and this new satellite radio program that they have. I want y'all to talk about it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So tell us, how did you all get this program? It's on satellite radio. Is it unique? I mean, is this kind of like one of the first Go-Go shows on satellite radio? And why did you all decide to move in this direction?
Well, to our knowledge, first of all, thank you for having us on the show.
Surely.
Yeah, it's an awesome platform. From our knowledge, this is the very first Go-Go radio show, radio program on Sirius XM. And, our motto and our slogan is, we got a window to the world. Everything Go-Go, we want to share to the entire globe of this incredible sound and synergy that's, our very own music. It's our culture. It's our sound that we have an opportunity to share with the world.
Right. Rico, you Early on the show, you said you didn't necessarily play go-go but you're very familiar with the music. And so what does this mean for you, particularly as a native Washingtonian?
Well, I mean, it's an unprecedented situation, because just like Shorty said, we are the first go-go radio show to be on XM. I mean, XM has a lot of different stations that plays a lot of different music, but it's only one show that's there, that highlights and focuses on the culture of go-go. And I believe it's long overdue, just because, even though we grew up in the DMV, or you reside in the DMV, go-go, first of all, has a fan base that stretches beyond that, and it stretches globally, and it's had a musical influence globally as well, and that is something that that needs to be discovered by people outside of just the Washington metropolitan area. So by us having this platform every week, we're able to give exposure to, the music, the culture, the people that make up the culture, the musicians, the managers, the promoters, everybody that has a part in the overall go-go industry, not just band members or singers or rappers, that come from the culture.
I'm amazed that this is the first show, but I'm glad, somebody had to do the first. And did you have to sell this idea to Sirius, the network, or did they just say, hey? I mean, how did it happen?
I'm laughing because we have
like a story.
We have this saying that Rico says whenever we gotta go into the office. It's the scene from one of Eddie Murphy's movies. What movie is that, Rico? Sell Mortimer Sell.
Sell Mortimer Sell. Was that
Trading Places?
Trading Places, yeah. Sell Mortimer Sell.
So yes. So how did it work? How did it happen? Did they welcome you, or did you have to really sort of sell it?
We definitely had to sell it, but we were already in the community, producing radio shows. Working with the youth, working with the seniors, working with adults, and shaping radio programs. And we had an opportunity to engage the GM of WHUR, Sean Platter, who was hosting a broadcasting program that I created with the Department of Parks and Recreation. And we sold them an idea. And I was about maybe 2 years later, we end up having another conversation, and he was up for giving it a go, and it hit, and everyone's been very excited about it, and we get submissions from all over the world, with their interpretation of go-go. But it was definitely a consistent persistence to get this show on.
I got you. Now, Sugar Bear, some of those folks, the Go-Go's about to celebrate its 50-year history. And I mean, what makes it different, Go-Go different today than, say, from the very beginning? And will that be reflected in the show that you all do?
It's definitely reflected because we got new creatives in a space, and from bounce beat to rappers and vocalists that incorporates the sound into their creative new fusions, if you will, of how they interpret the beat. And we're actually supporting that next wave of us and those new creatives, and giving them a participation in a Crank radio show, as well as paying homage to the original sound. So it's all about rebirth, continuing the carry the torch of the sound, but also paying homage to the original beat.
Fantastic. Now this is it's not just a show, right? How does this work? Is this like, I mean, I could turn in this Sirius any time of the day and hear this, or there's a certain time of day that I have to?
No, we got we have a specific time slot right now.
Okay.
We're on every Saturday and every Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 9
a.m. or 9 to 10 p.m. Okay,
yeah,
9 to 10 p.m.
And then that's on Sirius XM channel 141. It's HUR Voices, channel 141. and that's from 9 to 10, Saturday and Sunday. So right now, that's what we have. You know, we have a 1 hour window, but
that's not enough.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not enough.
Right.
It's not enough.
Yeah. So just
We
like
go
you
all
said
day,
that,
every day.
yeah, just like you said that, everybody else that feel like that, they can get at the people that at HUR Voices and XM and let them know that you want to hear more, and that 1 hour window is not enough. That you need more.
Exactly.
And then we'll give you more.
Okay, all right. And so, I mean, how do you all pay for this? Do you get sponsorship or what? How does it work?
Well, that's the secret sauce that we really can't share, but it's a little mix of all of those pieces you just mentioned. You know, it's all mixed in one.
Okay, all right. And let me ask you also: will there be like live guests on the show, or will you have artists appearing on the show? I know it's radio, but how's that going to work?
Yeah, well, now that the pandemic is lifting and there's more engagement for live music. That is the goal, and we're headed in that direction. You know, now that things are opening up and you're able to share the stage with several people. That is the direction that we're headed into. You know,
sometimes I think some folks thought maybe with the loss of really key go-go artists over the last few years, including Chuck Brown and then others that we've lost over the last couple of years, that go-go itself might be dying. But how do you all feel about that?
They counted us out over and over. You know, they give us the 8 count. You know, and as soon as they think it's over, boom, here come that left hook, and we back again. So go-go continues, to defy every odd or all the odds that we're faced. We continue. Whenever they're ready to count us out, we come back. So this music is here to stay as it continues to grow.
And I mean, it, just like you were saying, it's true representative of Black culture. Whenever you count it out, you rise again.
It comes back. All right.
Bigger and better,
So before we go, just tell us one more time the time that it airs and the station where we can hear it.
Yeah, it's on.
And the name of the show. Does the show have a name?
Yeah,
it has a name. It's Crank Radio Show.
Okay. All right.
Crank Radio Show. It's on Sirius XM channel 141, and it comes on Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Fantastic! Great way to start the weekend and to end the weekend.
Yes, crank up your weekends with the Crank Radio Show. So,
all right.
So, Miss Denise Rolock Bonds, you gotta be sure to check us out and get ready to say those magic words. Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Thank you all so much for being with us. I wish you a lot of success on this because DC needs it. And I'm glad you all are representing because this is global. And so that's fantastic for carrying the torch. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
All right. My pleasure. All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Let's go. Okay, I like that. So check them out. Crank Radio, Saturday and Sunday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Got to be there. So before we go, we've got really a story that I think is going to really hit a lot of us, particularly those of us who have families, down south or in other places. We've got the Holland family, and I want to welcome Toby, Katina, and Denise Holland, who are battling, and I love it. You're battling an issue that's impacting Black families when it comes to the loss of Black land.
Yeah.
And for you all, it's a very interesting, intriguing story. Who can I start with that can kind of really plant the seed on what your struggle and your success actually today was? Who wants to start us off?
I'll start. My name is
Toby.
Good afternoon, and first of all, thank you for having us on.
Thank you.
This is great for us to be here to be able to talk about what the family's been going through for the last couple months. And basically what we're dealing with is a movement of active aggression and active possession of family property. And our great-grandfather owned 1,000 acres at one time. And right now the family actively owns over 250 acres that's deeded to our family, and we're going through a.
We need to put the setting, because I neglected to say that, but we're talking about right down, I call it right down the street, down in Calvert County,
Yes,
Maryland. So yeah, this isn't far. You all are right in the neighborhood. But
yes,
go
ma'am.
ahead.
Right,
That's a lot of land. 1,000
right
acres.
down Route 4 on Pennsylvania Avenue. A lot of people don't
Mhm.
realize Pennsylvania Avenue goes all the way down to Solomon's, Route 4. And so this is right along the Chesapeake Bay. Our great grandfather owned 1,000 acres, and right now we own about 250 acres. And we're going through a series of events where, whether it's an entity or individuals who buy land adjacent to us, who want to take our ownership of our rights to that access to that property away. And not only are our families going through this, there's a series of other families in the county that are going through this. And so we're standing up and we're saying enough is enough. And people need to understand that there's a movement to take black land from black landowners.
So what is it that, so in essence, if you were trying to access your land, they're trying to others are trying to create a situation where you would essentially be trespassing on somebody else's land just to get to your land. What's the access issue here?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the act.
Want me
Oh,
to
sorry.
answer? Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Denise.
Okay. Well, the problem in this situation is that we have a landowner that just recently bought property back in the area where most of the Hollands live. He put up a gate, and that gate actually blocks my sister from getting to her property. You know, their property is side by side. So every day, as she come and go, or whenever she needs to leave her home, she has to actually get the gate unlocked so she can go somewhere. And then while she's gone, he comes back and then he locks it. And so then she has to, well, he doesn't lock it all the time. So she can sometimes take the chain off to get back to her house. And this has resulted in 75 different incidents with him, and most of them with the police, for her trying to get access to and from her home.
So before this property owner purchased the neighboring property, there was no gate?
No.
Okay, and so whose land is the gate on?
It's actually, what we found out is on the property right beside him, which is Marcel property. But he thinks it's his, and he put the gate up, and that's being disputed and everything as far as who land it is. And so he thinks it's his, put it like that. Right. He thinks it's his, so he put the gate up. Mm-hmm.
So right. This is Katina, this has gone from sort of a personal struggle to it. Now it's in the courts.
Yes. And as my brother stated, it's called adverse possession, where someone takes your land and puts a gate to block you and try to control your land. And so my sister spoke to a Ralph McConkney yesterday or sometime this week, and he's with the Calvert County Board of Commissioners, and he informed her and she informed us that there's no law preventing him from putting a gate up. There's no county law preventing him from putting a gate up and blocking us from using that road. And I beg to differ. This is why we say that there are parties aiding him in what he's doing. We have filed multiple peace orders against him for peace and enjoyment to stop the harassment. And only one was won, and that was my cousin's. And even with that, it did not address the gate issue. And we just want to bring to light that, you know, as a woman traveling that road at night, it's pitch black dark. It is very scary to be on that road. And at night, he comes up to you and, makes these comments to you while you're getting out of your car to go and unlock the gate. This is happening all times of the day and all times of the night. And so we've filed peace orders with the District Court of Calvert County, trying to seek relief. And some of those efforts have not been successful, but we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep fighting.
So you all had a press conference earlier this week.
Yes.
Is that correct? And
yes.
So what is it that you shared at that press conference?
We shared the history of the land from my grandfather. We shared what we're going through. And not only that, but friends of our family, guests of our family, the previous homeowner experienced harassment by the way of this man. And so trying to go through the county government, county police to get relief, they tend to fold their arms when they come on scene. On June 4th was an incident where he had locked the gate, and we had made a decision to call the Calvert County. We made a decision to call the state police because we weren't receiving any type of relief from the Calvert County Sheriff Office. And the Calvert County Sheriff Office told my cousin they weren't going to come. She told him the gate is locked. I can't get through. They told her she was not coming. However, we had made a decision within the family to contact the state police. And when the state police arrived, we see the Calvert County Sheriff Office coming. And they came to aid him in his call, but not ours.
Ma'am, if I may.
Sure. I just want to say quickly, though, I think your neighbor, Kyle Greenwell,
yes,
is watching the show, and we're so glad he is watching. But he says that the gate is 100% on his property, and you all are saying that there's a question there about actually whose land that gate is on. Toby, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And this is what I want to address to everyone that's watching. We have no problem with anyone that purchases land from our family or our descent or our ancestors. The issue is when you try to restrict the access and our ancestral right to the deed of that right of way. That road is nothing but a farm road that is currently called Dorothy Drive, but it's nothing but a farm road that has allowed our family to access the property through its beginning. And so if any one of us could put up a gate on our property portion of that road, because the road goes to everyone's property. And so no matter where the gate is, whether it's on his property or our property, we're going to do a boundary survey to verify and confirm. But regardless of the location of the gate, you cannot freely move on that farm road. And specifically, the Haskins family cannot access their estate property because he has two gates. One is at the beginning of his property, one is at the end. They cannot access their property, which butts against Fishing Creek because of the series of gates that he has. And no owner, the previous owner or no one before has done a gate of this magnitude, which is a nuisance, to restrict our free movement.
It just seems strange. Had you all, we're not neighborly anymore, which is unfortunate in communities all across. I don't care if we're out, in the suburbs or on a block full of people or in apartment buildings. We're just not neighborly anymore. But what, was there ever an attempt actually for you all to sit down and try to compromise on this?
Initially, Mr. Greenwell contacted me on Instant Messenger, and he started to tell me a series of comments that he's been in contact with the Haskins family, and that that their right of way has been changed by the county. And it was what I quickly realized it was a bunch of false statements.
That's not true.
False statements that were not true and he's contacted pretty much every member of our family along Dorothy Drive or Trouble Lane in order to an attempt to kind of play people off of each other. And it's really, to be honest, childish, unprofessional. And so these are the things that he's done from as early as August with me that I immediately stopped with him.
So what's next? What are you all going to do now to address this problem? And you mentioned, Toby, that this is happening to other folks with land, other places. I know that there's stories we can tell about people that own land up and down the East Coast, down in the South, where, fortunately, you all are still there, right? Your families are still there. So the land hasn't been abandoned. Yeah. So, but what's next?
What's next is what you saw earlier this week. It's a press conference. It's notification to the public of the aggressive actions, not only that this gentleman is doing, but other entities. People in the county are receiving notices from lumber companies to cut wood, and they're using that signed signature to possibly get their property taken away from them. So our advice and recommendation to other landowners is to continue to check your property records, because there is a movement to take people's land, and especially land that has no type of mortgage or a loan on it. Yep. And so people need to periodically check their property records, whether you own land, whether you own a house, whether you live in the city. This is something that is going, and people need to be made aware of it.
Well, I appreciate you all taking some time to talk to us about your issue. I really hope that if Mr. Greenwell is listening, that he understands that, you know, this this doesn't have to go as far as I think it's going. It seems like, to me, who am I, but you know, that there should be some way to address this issue. And I want you to just share with me, lastly, I mean, why is it important for you all to hold on to this land? It's 1,000 acres. It's been in your family for what? How many years?
Over 100 years.
Over 100 years.
Yes.
And you still have at least a portion of that land.
Yes.
Why is it so important to hold on to that land?
It's important because, as we all know, blacks were promised 40 acres in a mule, and we know that promise did not happen. It was a broken promise. And fortunately, some blacks were able to acquire land and wealth. And so you have to ask yourself, if your family, if your ancestors acquired wealth and you still have it in your family, you need to maintain it. You need to honor that memory. You need to share it and be able to provide it to your descendants. So it's very important to maintain the wealth or any asset that you've been able to be fortunate and blessed to have.
All right. Well, I think that's a good message for all of us, and it's worth fighting for.
Yes.
So I wish you all the best of luck, Mr. Greenwell. I hope you're listening. Help out the family, and let's work this thing out. No need to make the courts do it. So because that way there are no winners. You know what I'm saying? There are no winners.
Right.
So thank you again for joining us, and keep us abreast. So we'll stay abreast of what's going on with you all down there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for having us.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of WIN TV. And, you know, if there's anything that we've gotten a lot of information from our guests today. I appreciate every one of them that joined us today. And I hope you got something out of this program as well. Like I said, you know, like us on Facebook, follow us on TikTok now that we're there, you know, but keep watching the show because we want to bring information, and as our favorite radio program used to say, information is power. WOL, give a shout out to them. So don't go away. Continue to watch. Bridge TV is coming with the media prints and sounds of the DMV. And we look forward to some new hosts next week. And until I see you again, be safe and enjoy.
Well, it's Friday, folks. The damn 295 bridge has collapsed. We're going to the Olympics, and Broccoli City is back. So without further ado, let's get into the trending topics here in the DC. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on in DC? First up, DMV's own Christina Clemens places in the Olympic trials. That's right. DMV is going to Tokyo. Take a look.
I've been going after this team since 2012. I ruptured my Achilles in 2013. I wasn't healthy enough in 2016. We had to wait a whole year in 2020. And now here I've been looked over. I've been counted out. But when God is with you, it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm just so happy.
Congratulations again, Queen. Just announced this week, the Grammy Museum and Recording Academy announced a new multi-year college scholarship program called the Quinn Coleman Scholarship in honor of beloved DC DJ, record executive, and creator of Trelectro, Quinn Coleman, who passed last year. A total of 5 students will be selected to receive the scholarship each year, including us, DC residents, as one of the city's choices. Wale with the message. And a new video with Chris Brown. Take a look.
Ocean Park.
See the way you show now, girl, I can't tame you.
Speaking of new music, Rico Nasty gives us a peek of her new cover art for the single Magic. You know, the one she's been teasing on social media forever. We'll take a look at the cover. It's out June 30th. Corday brings us his new business venture. Take a look.
High level ideas, high level thoughts, high level Applications off.
Hey Merlin, over 500,000 phony unemployment insurance claims were uncovered since May. OMG, it's definitely giving go to jail. If you're one of these people, just go in the corner now and pray. Go Link celebrates his new gold record. Hey Mo, DC is open completely. Take a look.
This summer, we want them to get in their car or get on the metro and discover DC and experience DC. We want to tell the people in Philadelphia, the town's fine, but why not come down to DC?
DC's own acclaimed actress, Regina Hall, you know.
Damn, this is so scary.
Yes. Well, speaking of scary, her new movie coming to Hulu, Death Gives Me the Spooks. Take a look.
I'm on my way to that health retreat I was telling you about. Apparently, I'm in need of some fixing.
Welcome to Tranquillum House. We're gonna get you well. This is gonna be the best thing. It has to be. Are you happy with your life?
We're not in a good place. Either we try or we don't. It's very intimate here.
And how many guests are there?
9 total.
I'm really supposed to be here. Some doors are meant to stay closed.
Have you met her? The woman that runs it? She mixes and matches her guests like a cocktail.
Supposedly, she completely changes people. You came here to heal. This is going to be a wonderful journey. Sometimes it'll be unpleasant. I don't want to suffer. You're already suffering.
I've been feeling unlike myself.
There is nothing to fear. You're mine now. And you want to be mine.
The end has just begun.
Get excited, folks. Broccoli City is back, and we're sure as hell are gonna be outside. They have performances from Little Baby, Snow Allegra, Mochella, 3-0 Black, and more. Hosted by Rodney Rakai and Little Bacon Beard, with sounds from our very own DJ Malcolm Xavier and DJ Damo. Get your tickets now. Now, DC, it got real here this week as the 295 pedestrian bridge collapsed in Northeast. It even made the Shade Room. Take a look.
Bruh, what the fuck? What the Mo?
DMV Zone Ade and Maya post up in the studio. Can we smell an ultimate R&B smash? Cause we here at the bridge sure do. Lastly, this weekend, the rally for DC Statehood is this Saturday, tomorrow, from 12 to 4 at the National Mall. If you want to join the conversation and DC Statehood, be there. And there we have it, folks. Another week, another streak. This was what's going on, DC. For all this and more, head over to wibridgedc.com. Subscribe to our website. Subscribe to our YouTube. And make sure you follow the hashtags WGODC and WIBridgeTMP style for all the latest looks. Well, until next week, avoid bridges. My good DMVians, let's have a good turn up. We'll see you next weekend.